Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to the video. Today I am plein air painting, and this is probably the first time in about 6 or 7 years that I have gone out and painted on plein air. It was quite intimidating, but I think the fact that I went out with all of my gear and my phone and tripod kind of made me so much of a spectacle that I just didn't care anymore. So I just sat down, found my spot, and I painted, and I really enjoyed it. So before I went down to the park with all of my stuff, I toned my watercolor block with some burnt sienna watercolor, and after that, once that dried, I headed down and started painting. So when I paint a landscape, I pretty much always start with the sky. I find usually it is, if it's not your lightest value, it is very close to your lightest value. So I do my sky, and then I paint in my darkest value, which is usually my trees, because they're vertical, so they're usually the darkest mass in your painting. I found this whole painting process quite challenging. Being the first time in recent memory that I have gone and done any type of plein air painting, I found that it's just a completely different experience to painting in your studio, painting from photo reference. You have to really think about your composition a lot. You have to choose what not to include, and I think now in hindsight, I picked a subject that was almost a bit too complicated. I think next time I do plein air painting, I'll probably pick, a field with trees in the distance, or I will choose to paint the tree, or I'll choose to focus on the perspective of the fence line, going off into the distance. I had so many elements that I was trying to convey in this painting that in the end, I think it just came out a little bit flat. I have like a love-hate relationship with the finished product with this painting. I think from a distance it looks quite good, but there are some elements of it that I'm not super happy with. But it's a learning process. When you paint on plein air, it's really more of a study. You're not really aiming for a piece that you're going to exhibit or a piece that you're going to sell. You're out to learn how the atmosphere looks, how to convey that, how to improve your painting. You'll see here that I'm starting to try to mix the colours for the grasses in the distance. Despite the fact that I identify as a landscape painter, I find greens really challenging and almost intimidating, and I think I kind of get in my own way of creating a good painting because I just get so paranoid that my greens aren't going to work, because you'll hear a lot of the time that green is the artist's worst enemy, that it's a really hard color to paint, it's a hard color to paint convincingly, and I think I need to just kind of let loose and experiment with my greens so that I actually learn how to properly convey distance with green. I think the other thing too, though, is I'm so hard on myself when I'm in the process of creating a painting. I'm seeing all my mistakes, I'm thinking, oh, this isn't working out, and I always find that when I finish a painting, unless I have, done a particularly good job, I pretty much always find that when I'm done, I hate it, I put it away, and then, even 5 minutes later, I come back, I'm like, oh, it's not so bad. I actually did an alright job here. I can see where I need to improve, but it's not actually the bad painting that I thought it was. I feel like as an artist, what I'm truly addicted to is the process and the progression and the improvement. Every time I better myself, I get so excited and I just want to keep doing it, and that's what keeps me coming back. I just want to get better and better, and I have this kind of probably pretty lofty goal of, how I want to paint. I want to paint like these particular artists eventually, in my own style, but, be able to execute a really good painting almost every time. And it's that goal that just kind of lights a fire under me and gets me, behind the easel or in front of the sketchbook, painting and drawing until I see improvement. At this point in the painting, I'm kind of at a point where I've laid out all of my tones and I'm trying to figure out how to get some, more detail and sculpting into the painting. This is where my inexperience with gouache really hinders me. But despite the fact that I was out in the sun and it kept drying in the palette, I just kind of panic a little bit and I don't really know how to convey certain types of detail, like dry brushing and things like that. I'm just still learning. Whereas if I was out with oil paint, I feel like I would have been a lot more confident and I probably would have come out with a better painting. But I find the idea of kind of traveling out with my whole kit of oil paints and trying to travel home with a wet painting, especially with, how low energy I can be sometimes, I find that really overwhelming. So I do want to make this work. I did also recently purchase a set of oil pastels. I think it's like 120 set. And I would like to take that out with me and try, plein air sketching with those. But again, it's also a medium that I'm not used to. So I feel like I'm going to have a lot of frustration when I'm trying to get started with that. I'm going to find that, I'm not creating paintings that are to my level that I would usually achieve with my oil paints. So I might get discouraged, and I really need to figure out how to get around that in my head because I'm just my own worst enemy sometimes. I've been realizing lately just how much I love painting trees. I think just the satisfaction of having that really dark kind of shape that you've blocked in and then coming in with that sky color and breaking it up is kind of the same method I use to paint clouds, which, come to think of it, I enjoy painting probably just as much. I feel like it's like that cutting in and sculpting that I really enjoy. And I've actually started to bring that method into my drawing. I tend to kind of create this broad shape of when I'm drawing a portrait and cut in, and then I put like a flat shade down and then remove the highlights with the eraser. It's like that's just the way my brain works, and anytime I get to kind of use that technique, I just find it so satisfying. At this point in the painting, I remember feeling quite lost. I think I was struggling trying to figure out how to paint this field and how it stops, kind of cuts off into this road that's been flattened down probably by a tractor or something like that, and then it cuts into like the fence posts, and then the foreground is this hill, and I was just struggling with the form and the colours and the medium not being my usual medium, and I just felt really discouraged at this point. But I soldiered on, and like I said, the end product isn't my best work, but it is something that I feel like I've learned from, and I've got it up on my wall with the rest of my paintings, so it wasn't a total failure. It's not one of those pieces that I want to hide. At this point, I decided I wanted to darken the sky or give it a bit more saturation. So you'll see me coming in with some cyan blue here. And just like that, the painting is finished. Like I said, it's not, my best, but it's a learning experience. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, drop a comment, all of the things, and I will talk to you soon.